So you're a PhD student or a postdoc or a faculty, and you get up in the morning, cortisol level is high as everyone is talking about. The first thing you do is to press LinkedIn and see, ah, that person got another nice paper. This is the second in this last few months, or that another person I know, a friend of mine or a previous colleague got the grant while I've been struggling with my grant not even getting discussed in the study section. Or my friend, he's already close to finishing his PhD. The dude has another of his papers, while I seem to be not going anywhere further on my paper for the last year. Comparison ruins the very first hour of your day. So we are going to talk about comparison and how it is inevitably a part of our psychology, but can must be channelized in a proper way if you want to be in academia and enjoy academia. So again, this is Kshitas. I am a professor here at UConn Health, and I'm talking about life in academia, issues we encounter usually in academia, and probably not just in academia, but in professional life in general, any kind of professional intellectual life in general. So comparison is inevitable, right? We are social species, and therefore in many ways we judge each other by how far we are in the journey of where others have gone. And in some sense we therefore even though we may not want to, uh, are probably in some kind of a race with other people. And in academia, this becomes even more challenging because you really cannot hide away. I think this is a big difference. People don't realize it. You cannot, you may make a lot of other sacrifices in terms of, compensation or money or whatever. But where you gain is that each of your success, even the smallest one of your successes, is actually out in the open. I, for example, if I want to find out what my school friends, who today, what are they doing? Actually, I really have no idea. All I might know if I ask them which company they are in, and they might tell me, oh, they are VP in this company or director in this company or something else. And maybe I could get a sense of what they are doing. But in comparison, uh, and I'm talking of regular people who are in a ladder somewhere, right? If my friend is a CEO, probably I know that he is a CEO of this large, if a small startup or a big startup, and I have some public sense of, because they own that, and I can see what they really own, right, in terms of, say, the valuation of the company or something. I could gauge, if I want to gauge the real success of the person. They cannot hide behind what levels they are at and what kind of contribution they are really making. But academia is not like that. It's out in the open. Every single paper of ours is going to be out published. Everyone would know about it. If I get a grant, it's a public information. If I get a patent, it's also public information. If I make a presentation, it's a public information, right? In many ways, it is a very good thing because that allows us ownership of every small task of yours, right? Even if you're an undergraduate who's helping another graduate student in some kind of a data collection, some research work, uh, anything related to an academic scholarly work, you may get a name on the paper and you can show it to your friends. You see, I participated in a paper. Your parents will be very proud of you. You can use that in some kind of a compensation against things that you probably lacked in other aspects of your life. But at the same time, this allows a much easier and in a very strange sense, quantitative way of setting up comparisons between each other. So I noticed, for example, I was today morning in the summer internship poster, which they do at the end of their summer internship. There are bunch of those in the university. I went down. There was one of my own students there, and then you see, all the other posters, and you carefully notice the way they are talking to each other. These are undergraduate students. This is very likely the very first serious experience of research they've had, but already a set of competition is set in. Okay, which is more important? Who gets more people on their posters? Which lab are they working in? What chances they might get to be on some presentation, and so on and so forth, right? It only becomes worse. It only becomes bigger as you move on in academia. When you do your master's or your PhD, you will be asked to, you'll be writing your papers, you'll be making your presentations, you'll be going to conferences, and all of that is a public information. And even if it is not a public information, people will post it out on LinkedIn or ResearchGate or something else. And you would know, oh, that person got another paper. Oh, this person gets another paper. This can set up a very, very toxic. Many people can channelize it. We're going to talk about it in a very positive way. But in many people, it creates a very strong sense of disaffection, a sense of disappointment, wantingness, because what you see is successes. It's no different than social media, where people are putting pictures of their travel to Hawaii or to Orlando or Disney World or to some famous mountain. And all you see is beautiful pictures and people enjoying themselves while you are stuck. You don't have time to go for another few months. You may not have even money saved to go for another few months for a vacation. But all you see is, oh, this friend is going, and that friend is going, and she's going, and he's going. And you see the whole world seems to be enjoying themselves while I'm here not able to enjoy myself. So I think in social media, what the kind of toxicity that is happening because of social media and peer-to-peer comparison actually has existed in academia for a much longer time. Because although we did not have social media, the information about every little successes of ours is out in the public, right? The failures are not onto the public. If I submit a grant and a grant does not get funded, nobody knows about it except the people are told, right? That's private information. The moment grant gets funded, I get calls from my friends and I ask them, how do you know that I had a funded grant? He said, I know about it. I came to know about it somehow, because obviously it is in certain databases. Every single federal grant has to be put in a database. And so people know about who's getting what paper they're getting published. And I can put now, Google Scholar, I can put triggers that every day in the morning I get emails about publications from all these people. So it can create a sense of wantingness, because your own progress is now measured against progresses of many, 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 many people. And all you see is positive signals. All you see is positive signals coming about. What you do not see is the struggles behind all those positive signals, right? So obviously there are some real stars out there, but many of the times we are comparing ourselves not just to real stars, but to many of our own peer groups. And because you are really looking at many large number of people's successes against your own success, you, unless you are yourself a very, very big star, you may find yourself wanting, you may find yourself not doing as well as others are doing. But it is not really true, because if you carefully notice, all those numbers that you're getting are from different people, right? So they're also going through their own struggles, they're going through their own paces. But I think it is important to understand that whether it's a paper, whether it's a grant, whether it's a fellowship, whether it's going to a conference or anything of that nature, you really have to learn to not be bothered by it, but more importantly, not even think about it in that way, but only to think of it as that, what can I learn from this journey, right? This person, if suppose there are real stars, those are the ones you want to possibly concentrate on, to model as to what they might be doing differently. Are they getting grants from different agencies, or they are all getting from the same place? Are they publishing in this particular type of journal? What are they really doing which makes their articles so attractive, right, to a particular journal that you want to target, so and so forth, right? You might want to model yourself. But most of the time I found even that is not very, very helpful. uh, it is just not. You are in the business of doing something which is actually not about other people. You've gone out. If you are a scholar, by very definition, you have gone out into doing something which you should not really be bothered by how your peers are working. Although the institutions will set up these kind of quasi competition for you, it is not really a competition unless you make yourself feel like it. And I think it is very important to run your own race. You to create your, and that is what is really rewarded. What is rewarded is not who gets more citations, who has a higher H index. People who kind of worry about it, they really live a very miserable life, because that's not going to help you very much in the long run anyways, but is going to make your journey very, very painful and miserable. But what you should be looking at is what kind of path I'm really creating, right? if I am being unproductive this year, what are the causes of being unproductive? I had a video last time, what that hard work is not being productive. Being busy is not being productive, right? Is something of that nature happening with you? Is there a particular reason why you're finding it very difficult to publish certain findings, right? Is it something that you need to change your perspective on? And those are really struggles with yourselves. Those are not struggles with competitions. Those are not struggles with the peer groups. There is a very famous story that I don't know if it's really true or not, but when Henry Kissinger, after doing all sorts of things he wanted to do to the world, and was no more the Secretary of State after Nixon resigned, he went back to being a faculty at Harvard, I think. And as usually happens, many Secretary of State. I was at Yale, and I think. Uh, who was that? John Kerry came back there when I was at Johns Hopkins, and I remember Madeleine Albright. She, after being the Secretary of State, came back to Sci School, being a professor of international studies. So this is very, very common. And he made a very famous quip, and I always quote it, which is that uh, life in academia is so uh, nasty. I think that's what he said, because the stakes are so low. I mean, here he was doing all sorts of things to all different countries and nations, right? Changing boundaries and whatnot. And here there are people arguing and fighting for being the second author on a manuscript that nobody would probably read. So the stakes are really, really low. And when it gets low, it becomes trivial. I think that's what he said. Academia is so trivial because the stakes are so low. So I think what you need to understand is that although your own contribution to the world will not be in that one citation, it will not be in that another paper, it will not be in being the second author, or how many of you are getting. And even if it is a cumulated effect of it. And if you want to accumulate one by one, many achievements, which are at the end of the day would be called an achievement together as a big accumulated pile. It is no point getting worried about small achievements of your own or of somebody else. And many a times that really makes you go in directions where you should not go at all. I see it again and again in many people, where a postdoc will go and listen to a very interesting talk and think, oh, I could have done that, and then they go about completely leaving the work that they had done because that was stuck somewhere, thinking that they will make this change and and achieve this new thing, and you go into a totally new direction. And eventually you find it has struggles to come that you just had not foreseen in that particular new area at all also. But it's constantly being affected by others achievements, and comparison of any nature is of no good value at all. My viewers, ignore all of that noise. Do not go to LinkedIn except if you want to promote yourself, and but do not do it to listen to others, and if it really messes up with your brain, unless you're the type of person who doesn't get messed up. And and I think I'll leave with this, right? If you try to compare yourself and then thereby model yourself as to the best version of somebody else, okay, that's what you're ending up doing. If you're constantly comparing yourself, that you would model yourself to be the best version of somebody else, and you will probably reach some version of someone else. You may not be the best version, but you will never be the scientist or a scholar, the best version of what you could yourself have been. And if you want to be that person, and remember, that is why you came into academia at the end of the day, that is why you made that choice, then you need to be able to be comfortable with yourself, comfortable in your own company, enjoy your own company, enjoy your own achievements, and learn from others, but not be bothered by where others are going. And therefore, I need to either pace up myself or not pace or change my views just because others are doing it. Comparison is rarely useful in a pursuit where you are not, it's a very different world. For example, in the corporate, where you might be going behind a particular market which is hot. In academia, that never really works like that. So be comfortable with yourself, overall make broad level analysis of your field or of the trends, but do not go about comparing and thinking that this is what I need to do, that is what I need to do, and then getting yourself miserable because the 40th friend of yours also got a paper while you're struggling with yours. Well, the 40th one probably got it after 6 months, and you will get yours after 6 months too. So do not compare. Learn to be comfortable with yourself and be the best version of the scholar that you could be. And that is why, remember, you came into academia. That is why you decided to become a scholar, and not because you wanted to be somebody else and run in a race. That is exactly why you left rest of the world and decided to be a scholar, because you do not want to run a race. Okay, so I'll leave with this, and till the next video.